So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, May 14th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Friday, May 14th. We are now 1 day away from the NHL Playoffs starting. They start tomorrow. The NBA Playoffs start May 17th, the play-in series. And then the actual playoffs will start a week from tomorrow in the NBA. So a lot of great action between the NBA and the NHL upcoming in these next couple days and weeks and months, really, until we obviously get a champion in each of the respective leagues. So obviously it's exciting. Playoff hockey, I was mentioning a couple days ago, is super exciting. I mean, hockey to begin with is an exciting sport to watch, let alone playoff hockey just raises the bar so many other levels. And it's obviously a lot of fun to watch. It's super exciting. There's a lot of great teams, a lot of great games, a lot of great talent on all the teams. Just good hockey. And even if your team, like me this year and the New York Rangers, aren't in it, it is still fun to watch. The fans get involved. The players have a little extra added, energy, a little extra boost. There's a little more hitting. There's a little more, there's a little more of everything in the NHL playoffs. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. 7-game series, obviously, throughout. And that all starts tomorrow. Now, it's a little interesting how the playoffs are formatted this year. Obviously, I'm going to get into it today. It's one of the topics to go through the bracket and all that. But, super exciting to know that the NHL playoffs is tomorrow, and the MLB and the NBA will follow pretty much a week after that. So, a lot of good action coming from both of those leagues in his next coming days here. So, that's what I got on that. As for last night in sports, Yankees took a tough loss. I mean, you don't even really want to talk about it, to be honest, if you're a New York Yankees fan. Just a tough loss, 9-1. It was just not good. I mean, the hitting was, it's just terrible. I mean, it was a terrible loss. We did not look good at all. Tyone struggled in the first, allowed 2 runs, then, seemed to gain some, traction and started to, throw some good pitches. But at the end of the day, what I noticed with Tyone yesterday was his command. I mean, he just could not find the strike zone. He was down in the count way too much yesterday, and he was starting to count down. I mean, he was starting to count 1-0, 2-0 before he would throw his first strike, and that's an issue. Because if you're starting 75% of the counts with a ball, more than likely it's going to result on base runners and the batter taking advantage of that and getting on base. So, very frustrating loss for the New York Yankees. You got to hope that, we're able to bounce back from this and, get in action today, obviously, as we start a series against the Orioles here. But, we did take 2 out of 3 from the Rays. I would have loved to sweep, but at the end of the day, we won another series. We finally beat the Rays 2 out of 3. Seems like we've failed to do that every time we play them. So we did get the job done there. But we got to look today to get bounced back. Kluber's on the mound today against the Orioles. So you got to look to bounce back today. That's a big game. Big series today. You got to look to bounce back from yesterday's loss. Terrible 9-1. That's a loss where you don't even take anything from that game. You just throw it out. That's how bad it was. 9 runs allowed. Terrible. You just take that, crumble it up, and throw it out. Forget about that game. That game never happened. Focus on today's game. So, that's what happened last night. Like I said, Nets didn't play. But, the Knicks did, and the Mets had a day off yesterday as well. So, the Nets also have a day off today. Like I mentioned, the schedule for the Nets is weird down the stretch. We had a Tuesday-Wednesday game, which was a back-to-back. We had Tuesday and Wednesday, back-to-back. Then we had off yesterday, we have off today, and then we have a back-to-back on Saturday, Sunday. So, and then that's it. And then we head to the playoffs. So, the Nets schedule is really weird down the stretch here. But we got 2 games to let go. We got a day off today, then we play tomorrow. Then we play Saturday and then Sunday, and we finish it out. So, I look at the Nets as these are 2 games that do mean something because the Nets still have a chance at missing out on the 2 seed. Now, the Nets right now have the 2 seed. If we lose both these games this week and the Bucks have got to win, there's a couple things that got to happen the Nets don't have the tiebreaker with the Bucks. So that would mean the Nets would be the 3 seed. And it's big to get the 2 seed if you're the Brooklyn Nets. Mathematically, I don't think the Nets either are completely out of the 1 seed. But like a lot has to happen in order for them to get it. I don't think the 1 seed is going to be the Brooklyn Nets. If the Nets just take care of business, I believe of like one of these 2 games over the weekend, they should have the 2 seed down pat. But we'll see how it all plays out. So with all that being said, let's get into the topics for today. Like I mentioned just about 2-3 minutes ago, the NHL playoff starts tomorrow. It's a little weird, the scheduling. Some teams start tomorrow, then Sunday, and then I believe some teams start Monday. So the scheduling's still a little weird, but hey, it doesn't matter. Playoff hockey's on. It's playoff hockey. It's all good. So the NHL playoffs come out, start tomorrow. I made my bracket like I always do with all the NHL stuff. And by the way, my power rankings, you know how I usually take that out and read you how I did. Usually I will do that after the playoffs when the entire season's done, and I predict and I will check out my power rankings and all that stuff. So that's what I'll do then. But today's the NHL playoff bracket. I'll go through round by round, give you my predictions, why I think each team will win, and I'll ultimately give you my Stanley Cup champion, and I will tell you why. So we'll get into that. Then we'll get into the Rangers coaching candidates. I wanted to get into this. This has been a hot topic around New York Rangers, really around the NHL, is who's going to be the New York Rangers' next coach. Yesterday we requested waivers on Jared Gallant, who is a former coach and really well-respected guy around the league. He's been one of the names that has popped around. The New York Rangers that's the first known guy the Rangers are going to interview. We've heard about John Tortorella, Mark Messier. There's been a couple of names to fly around. The Coyotes coach has been a couple of names to fly around with the New York Rangers in terms of possibilities of getting them hired. So it's obviously still a process. I don't think we're going to hire a guy right away. It's still a process, but we're starting. Chris Drury did say we're going to start the process immediately. We fired Quinn Wednesday, and we're already getting a coach interviewed. We already requested an interview yesterday, so we are getting the process underway here. And I'm going to give you some candidates, not in any particular order. I'm just going to give you candidates, give you, why I think they could possibly get the job, and all that good stuff there. Then we'll get into the New York sports update. Preview the weekend. Get you going for tonight and then into the weekend of sports. The weekend's always packed. Like, you got Friday night sports, and you get all of Saturday games, and then the Sunday games, and then, you come out of the weekend like, oh my gosh, there's so much on. And then, that's usually why Mondays there's not much on. Like, you got all your sports stuff over the weekend, come on Monday, it's like a day off for fans. It's like, okay, there's not much sports on today, but tomorrow there's more sports on. So, get you ready for the weekend. Obviously, NHL playoffs, NBA, all that good stuff. So, and the MLB as well. Can't forget about that. With all that being said, though, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So the NHL playoffs obviously starts tomorrow, starts this weekend. Now, with COVID and with some of the outbreaks and some of the postponements, the scheduling is a little weird for the NHL playoffs. Usually, it starts about the first, usually it's about, first they say this team will play, or this side of the bracket will play, and then the next day it's this side of the bracket. Now, that's not the case this year. This year, that is not the case. So, tomorrow there are some hockey games on tomorrow. Now, some playoff games on tomorrow. Now, there's also some games on Sunday and some games on Monday and all throughout next week. Now, the scheduling is a little weird due to some of the stuff and cancellations due to COVID. And like I said, I'm going to get into the bracket in a second, but I wanted to explain this a little bit. So what's actually kind of weird is there's still regular seasons games going on while the playoffs are starting. So the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks play up until Wednesday. Now, the NHL playoffs is going to be going on, and those Flames Vancouver Canucks games are also going to be going on. Those games are going to be nothing. Those are just regular season games that got pushed back due to an outbreak. So that's the weird part, but those games will not be scheduling conflict with the NHL playoffs. So while the playoffs are going to go on, there's still going to be a couple regular season hockey games. That's up until Wednesday. So, the NHL, I thought, did a good job overall of, bouncing, with all the, some of the outbreaks and cancellations. I thought overall they did a pretty good job of, doing it. I know some people might say, oh, it's so embarrassing to have regular season going games. Like the Canucks and the Flames are going to be playing when the playoffs are on, and they aren't even in the playoffs. So you could look at it that way. But I look at it as, hey, it was a 56-game season. It was condensed. I mean, you could say that, the NHL didn't give themselves as much time, which I guess you could say is true. Only 56 games. You got to try to get them in as quick and fast as you can. You don't have much room to mess up. And there was a couple outbreaks. There was a couple cancellations. And it results in this. But I look at it as they're playoff hockey. If you're a Flames and a Canucks fan, you watch your games, then you can watch hockey, playoff hockey. And if you're not a fan, like I don't care what goes on in the Flames and the Canucks games. I'm just going to be focused on playoff hockey. So it doesn't bother me that much, although it is going to be weird to see, what happened. It's going to be weird to see scrolling through the scores. You're going to see a random regular season game that happened, but I don't really look at it that way. I kind of just look at it, hey, playoff hockey, it's happening. It's going to be exciting. I'm ready for it. Obviously, I just think, some people might be overreacting a little bit to the fact that there's going to be, some games. I think that people might, be overreacting. Like, some people are like, oh, there's regular season. Like, you don't have to watch those regular season games. So that's how I see it. But fact is, playoff hockey, that's all that matters. So, all right. So, like I mentioned, so today is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of the, I'm going to go through all of the games, all the scheduling, or not all the scheduling, but I'm going to go through the games. So tomorrow's game, by the way, there's one game on tomorrow. It is the Capitals-Bruins game 1. Now, this year, how they did the format is they did the format by every other day. So every other day you play a game, which I thought was an excellent idea. Because, sometimes you have a back-to-back, then every day. This year, they kind of doing it back to like it used to be. Back then, it used to be you play, then you have a day off, then you play again. So that's how it is this year. So, for example, the Islanders-Penguins, since this is the first thing that comes up on the schedule. The Islanders-Penguins is Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, that's what I'm saying. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, Friday, May 28th is the latest they could end that series. So it's every other day. So I thought that was something that the NHL did a relatively good job with. So, definitely interesting, especially with it only being 56 games. The fact is, they're in it. It is NHL Playoffs, and that's how the format is. Now, the format this year, as I get my bracket out here, that's all filled out. Like I said, I'm going to go through each series. I'm going to try to do it as quick as I can, obviously, because I don't want to take up an hour talking about this, because I got another topic to go to. But, basically how this is. So, it is the North Division, which is all the Canada teams. Then you got the Central. Then you got the East. Then you got the West. So, the East Division consists of the Penguins, Islanders matchup. Then you got the Capitals, Bruins. The West is the Avalanche, Blues, and then the Vegas Golden Knights and Minnesota Wild. Now, the North Division's full of Canada teams. That's the Maple Leafs, Canadiens, and the Oilers, Jets. And the Central is the Hurricanes, Predators, and Panthers, Lightning. So those are the matchups, and that's where it is. So East will play West. So the winner coming out of the East will play the West, and the winner coming out of the North will play the Central. And after all, the winner of the East and West, conference championship or semifinal game will go to the finals, and they will meet the winner of the North and the Central. And we'll ultimately get ourselves a winner and a champion. Now, with all that being said, let's get into the bracket here, and let's start this thing off getting into the bracket. All right, so we're going to start off. I'll just start off top left of the bracket with the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens. I'll go down to the right then. That's just how I usually do it. I'll just do it that way. So, starting it off, number 1 seeded Toronto Maple Leafs in the North. Versus number 4 seeded Montreal Canadiens, also in the North. Now, this is a game that many people, or not just a game, but a series that many people, that many people really are excited for. It's the battle of the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs, rivals that are dating back to a really long time ago. So this is obviously an opportunity for some good hockey, as how I see it first. Now, there is a big gap between these two teams, to be honest, and I know a lot of people think this series is going to go to a Game 6 or a Game 7. maybe it could, because the tensions are going to be high. Fans are going to be into it. I don't know if they're allowed fans there. I think with Canada's restrictions, I don't know how many fans are going to be allowed there, if there is any. But anyway, it's going to be fun. Both of these teams are going to really be battling it out. The Canadians are coming in as arguably the worst playoff team out of everyone. Now, that doesn't mean they're that bad. I'm just saying, out of all the playoff teams, they might be the worst out of all of them. Now, I don't like to use the word worst when you made the playoffs, but if you get what I'm saying, out of all the playoff teams, they are probably the most underdog team to win it all, or to at least get past the first round, especially that they're playing a talented Maple Leafs team. Now, I know a lot of people think this round will be close. It's going to be a 7-game series. You might see an upset with the Canadians. As much as I like upsets, as much as I think it is cool to see upsets, especially 4-1s, or in the March Madness, 15-2s or 16 seeded beat the 1 seed. As much as it's cool to see upsets, I think the Maple Leafs will honestly, now the Maple Leafs have such a talented hockey team. You got Austin Matthews, Tavares, you got Frederik Andersen in goal, who is iffy, but Austin Matthews, you really look at it as, and he's arguably one of the best players in the NHL. And, him, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, they're all up there as some of the best. And I think with Austin Matthews will overpower the Canadians. Now, the Canadians do have a lot of good guys. Jeff Petrie, Shea Weber. Shea Weber did get injured. He should be ready, though, for playoffs. That could be something to watch for. But Shea Weber, Jeff Petrie, Nick Suzuki, their goaltending situation, Carey Price, and, kind of an iffy 50-50 with their goaltender. Price isn't what he used to be. But I just don't think the Canadians this season, yes, they made the playoffs, yes, they are in. They don't show me enough to convince that they can knock off arguably one of the best teams in the NHL in the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think Austin Matthews and his Maple Leaf squad will get the job done. I do think they beat the Canadians. I don't think this is going to go to a 7-game series. I really don't. I think the most it goes to is 6. I think the Maple Leafs very well could sweep the Canadians. And I think it will probably be a 5-game series. It might be the Canadians might get 1 from them. But the Maple Leafs, I really believe, are arguably one of the best teams in the NHL. And I think they really have a really great shot at getting to the Stanley Cup and winning it all. So I'm going to say the Maple Leafs win this round. I would say anywhere from 4, a sweep, to about 6 games. I don't think it's going 7. I would say it's probably going to go 5. I think the Canadians might steal 1 from them. But I think other than that, Maple Leafs are just a better team. Arguably one of the best out there. Maple Leafs get the job done, move on. Now, the next matchup here is the number 2 seeded Edmonton Oilers in the North versus the number 3 seeded Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Jets have retooled their roster big time. Obviously, they've retooled their roster. There's obviously Cobb on that team. There's a lot of good guys on that team, on that Winnipeg Jets team. I mean, it's a team that's had some ups and downs throughout some of these years, but this year they really had a solid year. Now, the one issue with the Winnipeg Jets is Nicola Ehlers, and that's one of the things. He's had such a great year, and he's going to miss some time, and obviously with the injury he had in the regular season, that's a big loss for them. And the Winnipeg Jets, I feel like, when they're healthy, I think the Jets could very well win this series. Now, the one issue is they do have some injuries. They've had some issues with the injury coming into this series, and you kind of got to sit here and think, like, okay, against the Edmonton Oilers with, Tyson Barrie and, Tyson Barrie, and you got guys like, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Connor McDavid and, Leon Draisaitl. You look at this roster, and this is arguably one of the most talented rosters out there. And then you look at Mike Smith, their goaltender. I just don't think the Winnipeg Jets, with some of the injuries they're dealing with, they're missing some big-time, big key players. I don't know if they get the job done. As much as I think, they are a good team and it's possible that they pull off an upset, I do think this series will be close. I think the Oilers win. They've got the best player in hockey in Connor McDavid, followed by Leon Draisaitl. Then you got guys like Tyson Barrie and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who are great players to come with them. Obviously, you got McDavid and Draisaitl are the top 2, and then you got the other complement players like Hopkins, like Barrie, that really help them out. I think the Oilers have a chance of going far in the playoffs, and I really think they started here against the Winnipeg Jets. Now, I said they have a chance. I'm not saying I got them going to the finals. I said I think they have a chance. But I think Winnipeg, with some of the injuries they're dealing with, I think just Connor McDavid, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, Mike Smith, who's had some excellent games in goal. They overpower this Winnipeg Jets roster. I say the Oilers move on in the North. So the North next round will be the Maple Leafs and Oilers. And I'll read that in a little bit here. Now, coming up next here, we got the Central Division. That consists of the Hurricanes, Predators, Panthers, and Tampa Bay Lightning. So the number 1 seeded Carolina Hurricanes will take on the number 4 seeded Nashville Predators. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to say, "Oh, well, Predators, they beat their Hurricanes the last 2 times, and they seem to be gaining some momentum on them." No. Okay, as much as the Predators have had the Predators, you could say, have had a little bit of an up and down year. They started off a little slow, then they went fast, then they kind of slowed down a little bit, and I would say they're on a hot stretch going into the playoffs. But people, we got to take a step back. Okay, as much as the Predators are going into the playoffs pretty hot, and they did beat the Hurricanes the last 2 times they played them, and when they get the Hurricanes on their home ice, and when the Predators arguably have some of the loudest and best fans in hockey, arguably they do. I mean, that playoff atmosphere in Nashville is very big time. Very, very big. I get that. With the fans, and, they do got some, players on that team that, can make a difference. I just don't know if their goaltending is going to be able to be enough. And that's been one of the issues this year against the Hurricanes. If I'm not mistaken, there's been like a 5-goal game with the Hurricanes in this year. And the Predators, this is a team, too, that was battling for a playoff spot in the final week of the season, okay? I think the Hurricanes win the series easily. Instead of what I was just about to say, I was trying to say something about the Hurricanes. I'm just going to leave it at that. Hurricanes, I think, win this series easily. Sebastian Aho, right? Mazarek in goal, if he is, they kind of split time sometime. There's a lot of good guys on that team, especially led by, obviously the young star in Aho. And then, Jordan Staal's had arguably his best year of his career. I don't even know if you can really make an argument. You can make the argument that maybe another year was better, but, you look at the numbers. The numbers are career highs in a lot of categories. He's arguably had one of the best years of his career. He's been a big part of that team. Jordan Staal, Aho, one of the up-and-coming rising stars. I think the Hurricanes take care of Nashville easily. And, I don't think it's going to be a sweep because I do think Nashville might get 1 win at their place. But I think with Hurricanes, I think I could very well see the series going this way. I think it could be 2-0 Hurricanes. Then maybe Nashville takes 1. I don't know if that's the first game home or the second game. And the Hurricanes finish it up. I think Nashville will get 1 home, but I think the Hurricanes win this series in 5. I don't think Nashville gives them much of a problem. I think the Hurricanes, Aho, Staal, Marazek, there's a lot of good guys on that team, if I'm pronouncing his name right. A lot of talent on that team. A lot of people think this team's going to go far in the playoffs. I think the Hurricanes win this series, move on. Nashville, like I said, I think they might take 1 at home, but other than that, this is Hurricanes all the way. Hurricanes move on. Now, the next up here is the number 2 Florida Panthers and number 3 Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, once again, there's about 5 teams in the playoffs this year that everyone's very high on, right? People are very high on the Maple Leafs, Hurricanes, Panthers, Avalanche, and a lot of people have all of a sudden became well invested into the Boston Bruins. So there's about 4 to 5 teams in here that a lot of people believe can make a difference, that a lot of people believe can make a big impact. Now, the Florida Hurricanes, there it is. The Florida Panthers, don't get me wrong, had an excellent year. They had an excellent year. They're the 2 seed coming in the Central. They had an excellent year. I'm not going to sit here and say that they didn't. I can't say that when they did. Now, you got, arguably one of the better defensive crews. You got, Mackenzie Weegar, who has really broke out. Now, you obviously had the injury, early out in the year to your star player. And, not that this team has to be able to recover. I just don't know if this is... the Florida Panthers, they're a very good defensive team. Florida Panthers, very good defensive team. That's their strength. They've arguably some of the better defensemen in the league on that team. Now, one of them did get injured and was done for the year. But it's a team that's got a lot of good defensemen. And they're going up against an offensive-heavy team in the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are very offensive-heavy. You got Kucherov, you got Braden Point, you got Steven Stamkos, and you also got arguably the best goalie in the NHL, and Andrei Vasilevsky. they are one of the more offensive-heavy teams. So in terms of a 7-game series, I could see this series going to distance because you have a very good defensive team versus a very good offensive team. You're battling it out. A very good team that's hard-hitting, gonna bang you up, gonna hit you, gonna win the one-on-one battles, and you have a team that's gonna be able to create space. Might not be the hardest hitting team out there, but they're gonna create space. They're gonna get a lot of shots. They're gonna pass the puck well. It's gonna be a full-on grind this series. I could see this series being separated between 1 goal every game. I think this is a series that has a chance to go the full 7 games. But at the end of it all, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning will get the job done. Now, that's the 3 seed beating a 2 seed here. And I'll tell you why. Okay? Now, I looked at this earlier today when I made this bracket. If Steven Stamkos wasn't healthy, I would have gave the Florida Panthers the win. Because Steven Stamkos arguably is the best player in the Lightning, one of the better players out there now. I know he's getting older. He's still a big impact player. And he's a big impact player in the locker room, too. He's a veteran, smart guy, mentor to a lot of the other guys on that team. He's a big part of that team, not just on the ice, but both off the ice. Okay? I think the Lightning win this series. I think playoff experience, number 1, and their offense is so good. And to be honest, I think Andrei Vasilevskiy is the best goalie in the NHL. Now, you could make the argument that Semyon Varlamov, and I'll get to the Islanders next, is as well. But, I mean, it is very rare to see Vasilevskiy have a tough game, have a struggle. And for a team that's defensively strong, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning's offense, I think, is slightly better. Braden Point has really came along to end out the year. You get Steven Stamkos back, and everyone might want to talk about how they had a slow end of the season. Well, yeah, because they were losing Steven Stamkos. They get him back. Vasilevskiy, Kucherov, Braden Point. That's a star-studded roster. Tampa Bay Lightning moving on. So now the second round matchups, I have the Maple Leafs versus the Oilers and the Hurricanes versus the Lightnings. Now let's get into the right side of the bracket here, and we'll get to the Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Islanders to start off. So this is the East Division. It's the Penguins, Islanders, then the Capitals, Bruins, and in the West Division, the Avalanche, Blues, and the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Minnesota Wild. So let's get into this. So we're starting off here. Number 1 seeded Pittsburgh Penguins in the East play number 4 seeded New York Islanders in the East as well. Now, I don't know if you remember this, and I was wrong, right? Everyone's always wrong a couple times in sports, and I'm wrong. I'm sometimes wrong. You're never perfect. You can never be right on. You can never predict everything right. By the way, that Lightning Florida series, I could see that going to 7 games. I really could. I would say Lightning winning either 6 or 7. I think 6 at the least. I think that's going to 7. I really do. I think that's going to the distance. 2 very evenly matched teams. All right, back to this game. So, obviously, like I've been saying, with the Islanders, you might, criticize me off of what I said on that, and I'm going to admit to it right now. A couple weeks ago, maybe about a month or 2 ago, when I was talking about the Rangers' playoff chances, because they were making a push, I was reading the top 3 teams in that division. At the time, it was the Islanders, Capitals, then Penguins, and then it was the Bruins and then the Rangers at the 5th seed were battling it out. That was the time that the Flyers were still in it. Flyers obviously fell out. Rangers obviously lost. We have our playoffs now. But I remember saying that I thought the Islanders had the 1 seed locked up. I said I don't think they're going to move that much. Slowly, they went to 2. And then, honestly, in a matter of like a week, they were the 4 seed. So to be honest, I think the Islanders are a talented... They've shown that they can be... this is a roster that has shown us that they can be a 1 seed. So in a way, it's like, yes, they're a 4 seed, but at the same time, it's like they can be a 1 seed too. They were a 1 seed for a lot of this year. They were first in the Eastern Division for, I would say, 60-70% of this year. It's not until these final 2-3 weeks of the season where they've really fallen off. And I still think the Islanders are a top 10, top 7 team out there. I know they've slid a little bit, but let me tell you, Semyon Varlamov did get injured. They had a couple games where they're resting some of their players, and you also got to realize when Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac came in. Now, Palmieri and Zajac, obviously, I think it's going to deal. That's going to help them. I think it's especially going to help them now that they got to the playoffs. But they're definitely still knocking off some of the rust. They're still trying to, build chemistry. They're still trying to fit into that Islanders system exactly. Because remember, Barry Trotz definitely runs things differently than some other teams. So to be honest, Penguins fans might come into this really confident. And I can see that. Evgeny Malkin, Jake Gensel, Brian Rust, Sidney Crosby, Tristan Jarry. I get that. They've got a lot of good players on that team. I understand. You're going up against a team with Eberle, Semyon Varlamov, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, Travis Zajac, Kyle Palmieri, Matthew Barzal. There's a lot of talent on that side of the puck too. Matt Martin, who's the hard-hitting defenseman. To be honest, I still think the Islanders have the team to go the distance, to go far in this playoffs. I do. Because we've seen it. We've seen this team put good hockey together for long stretches. And the Penguins at the beginning of the year, to be honest, I feel like it's the tale of two halves. The first half of the season, people were talking about the Penguins possibly firing their head coach and restarting. Now they went on this big winning streak. They went on this big run. They're the 1 seed coming out of the Eastern Division. The Islanders, beginning part of the season, were like, oh my gosh, I'm saying it. They've got the 1 seed locked up. And now all of a sudden, they come in as a 4 seed. So as much as I understand the Penguins are hot, and they're getting hot at the right time, and they've got a lot of talent, I think the Islanders are one of the more talented teams in this playoff bracket. I think the Islanders beat the Penguins. I think there's a 4-1 upset here. Because I really don't believe the Islanders are a 4 seed. Yes, they are on paper, but when you look at the roster, you see them play, they're a 1 seed talented team. They lost some games late, and it resulted in this. And if the Islanders were the 1 seed, I would have gave them a win if the Penguins were the 4 seed. I'm going to give the Islanders the win here. I am. And as much as they are the rivals to the Rangers, I've got to admit, they're the better hockey team in this case, and I do believe they're one of the better teams in this bracket. Give me the Islanders. I think it's going to be a close series, 6-7 games. Give me the Islanders in 6. Semyon Varlamov, Tristan Jarry, going to be an excellent goalie matchup. I'm not doubting the Penguins. I'm just saying that the Islanders, their seed does not mean anything to them. 4 seed, that's not true. They are a much better than a 4 seed. They are. And I think their 1 seed talented team will come out in the playoffs. Give me the Islanders moving on. The next up playoff game in the East will be the Washington Capitals and the Boston Bruins. Washington comes in a 2 seed. Bruins come in a 3 seed. All right, like I said, the Bruins, they're getting hot at the right time. Taylor Hall, Brad Marchand. Their Taylor Hall pickup's looking like a genius of a move. Tuukka Rask in goal. Right, their Taylor Hall pickup is looking like a very good move. It is. Obviously, Brad Marchand, they've got a slight big 3 going there. Like a slight. It's not like the biggest of big 3s, because if that's the case, they would be better than a 3 seed. But they got Patrice Bergeron, David Pastrnak, and Brad Marchand. So in a way, you're kind of sitting there, looking at the roster, and you're like, all right. They kind of got a big 3. Then you had Taylor Hall and Jake DeBrusk, and you kind of look at the roster, and you're like, okay, it's pretty solid, I would say. And they do got a very solid roster. The Bruins do. And don't get me wrong, they do. Now, you look at the Capitals, and you look on the other side of the ice, and to be honest, their goalie situation this year has taken so many twists and turns. They were supposed to have Henrik Lundqvist, or Brandon Holtby, actually. Then Brandon Holtby is gone. Then they were supposed to have Lundqvist. He obviously had open heart surgery, had health issues. He didn't play this year. You bring in Vanacek, who was supposed to be the 3rd to 4th goalie on the roster. He's had an excellent season. Now, you do have a couple other goalies. You do have some split time there. Their goalie is still a little bit of a question mark, but it doesn't concern me because their goalie's been good this year. Yes, there's been some moving parts in goal, but overall, their goalie's been pretty good this year. Whoever is in net. And Vanacek's been obviously the best goalie out of all of them. But in terms of the Capitals, in terms of, their roster, you look at the roster, they got a lot of good talent on that team as well. You got Dylan, you obviously got one of the greatest of all time in Alexander Ovechkin. You got TJ Oshie and Carl Hagelin, and as much as I don't like him, Tom Wilson, he is a hard-hitting guy, in a series against the Bruins are a hard-hitting team too, and I think, to be honest, this series is going to depend on physicality. I really do. I think it's going to be who's more physical, because the Bruins are a very physical team, and we've seen the Capitals. I saw it with my own eyes. They're a very physical team. They're actually a dirty team at sometimes. So I think this series is going to come down a lot to not just the Like, I feel like this series might not all be about, Ovechkin and how many goals can he score. I think it's going to be a lot of defense. I think it's going to come down to a lot of who can be more physical, who's going to hit harder, who's going to make more defensive plays, who's going to block more shots. I think that's when this series is going to come down to. Now, you ask me who I think I'm going to win. I think playoff experience, and Tuukka Rask has been shaky this year. The Capitals goalie has been a little bit better than him, much better actually. I'm going to give the Capitals the win here. And I think Capitals move on to the second round. So I think it's a 6-game series. I think the Capitals win it in 6. And I think they move on. As much as the Bruins have been very good with Taylor Hall on their roster, I think I think playoff experience a little bit more, right? Their goalie's been better. Tuukka Rask is not that he hasn't been good, but he's had moments this season. He's been a little inconsistent at times. And maybe the inconsistency shows a little bit. Prove me wrong. Go out there and sweep them. But I think the Capitals move on. So Islanders, Capitals, the next round in the East is all set there. Now let's go down to the West. We got the Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues here. So I'm going to kind of say this pretty quickly here. As much as the Blues, right, the Blues, a lot of people didn't think the Blues were going to make the playoffs. A lot of people thought it was going to be the Coyotes. Sure enough, it was the Blues. Sure enough, they're in. Now, the Blues, obviously, this season, with Jordan Binnington and, David Prawn and, Braden Shen. And you kind of look at the roster, and they've got guys there. They've got some talent there. But the Blues, I think this year, they've been too inconsistent. They've been way too inconsistent this year. There's been too many inconsistent marks. Like, they're on a high, then they're a low, then they're like, and they're kind of back and forth, then they're back on a high, then they're all the way back low. Like, inconsistency has hurt the Blues this year, and that's why they barely squeaked into the playoffs. They got hot late, but before that, they were struggling. They would go on these 4-game win streaks, and then they would go on these 3-4-game losing streaks. They would look like a top team out there. Then they would look like, how in the world are we in the playoff hunt? Inconsistent with the St. Louis Blues has hurt them this year. Now, what has helped them is David Prawn. He's stepped up this year. He's had a good year. And, he's also a little bit older, and he's had a very good year statistically and just on the ice as well. He's had a very good year. And Braden Shen has had his moments, but he's a good goal scorer. He proved it this season. He's had a good year. Now, when you go to the Avalanche, who obviously won the President's Trophy, which is best record in most points, they're a team that's probably a lot of people think is the best team going into this. So, in terms of underdog, the Blues are big underdogs in here. And if the Blues were more consistent, I think it would give me a reason to think about this series. But Nathan MacKinnon is next level, just unbelievable at times when he's on the ice. Give me Nathan MacKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche to beat the St. Louis Blues. I'm not doubting on the Blues, but the Avalanche, a lot of people think are going to go on and win it all. And the Blues have a really tough task. They've got a very good goaltender, the Avalanche do, and the Blues' inconsistency shown a little bit. And that's an issue. When you're playing against arguably the best team in the NHL, you need consistency. And the Blues has shown me the Blues have been a little inconsistent this year. Now, yes, they've been a good goal-scoring team. They've gotten the job done. They proved a lot of people wrong. Going into the final week of the season, many thought the Coyotes were going to make it. And the Blues turned around, won some games, and they're in. But I think the Avalanche get the job done. Good goaltender. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. It's Grabro or something like that. Some of these guys' names is tough. I know. I watch a lot of hockey, and I look at a lot of hockey, and read a lot about hockey. But these names I can never nail. There's a lot of complicated names out there, so I apologize for that. But a very good goaltender. His name's a little difficult for me to pronounce. It's G-R something. I'm not even gonna try. Nathan MacKinnon. That's an easy name. I'm gonna give the Avalanche the win. I could see a sweep, honestly, here. I'll give him 5. Give the Blues 1. Sweeps are not that they aren't easy. They're uncommon. You don't always see a sweep every day. Give me the Avalanche. 5 games. Now, the next series here is the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. Now, a lot of people, I would say, if there's going to be one where you take where you take an upset here, I would see people taking the Minnesota Wild. Now, I could see it. It's not that I don't disagree. And we are running short on time here, so I'll try to be quick with this. And I don't disagree with them. I mean, the Wild have had Kirill Kaprizov has broken out. I mean, this was a guy who got drafted to, okay, let's see what he's about. And, it's He's been special. He's broken a lot of records this year as rookie. So, I just think that with Kirill Kaprizov and guys like that, and Cam Talbot and Kaapo Kahkonen, two very good goaltenders, I see where people are coming from in terms of, really feeling confident about the Wild getting the upset. I think this series, now before I even give my winner, I think this is going to go into 7 games. I do. Because the Wild might be the younger and more quicker team, but in terms of physicality, you got to give that to the Golden Knights. Goal scoring, it might be the Wild, but defense, it might be the Knights. So this is another one of these series. It's just like the Lightning Panthers. This series is the same way. It's like speed and, flashy plays and, puck movement just like that. That might be that. You might have to give that one to the Minnesota Wild. Young team, quick, a lot of puck movement. And the more veteran team, Pietrangelo, Marcia Show, Ryan Reeves, guys like that on the other side of the ice with the Golden Knights. I'm not forgetting about the guy many of you people might be forgetting about. Marc-Andre Fleury. The guy has been dominant this year in goal. And you got Robin Lehner, who is also they won the award for best goaltending duo. Robin Lehner has also been dominant. Now I would think that Marc-Andre Fleury will probably see most of the time. He's seen that this year. Marc-Andre Fleury has seen most of the time. But it's not like one of those things if you're the Golden Knights where like, Andre Fleury might not be starting. It's not like that. Like Robin Lehner, he's just as good. Marc-Andre Fleury has been dominant though. That's what separates these two teams. I get it. Cam Talbot has been an excellent signing. And Kaapo Kahkonen, he's had some good games as well. I get that. I had Cam Talbot on my fantasy team. I had Kaapo Kahkonen there for a little bit and dropped him and then didn't have him back. But he's had some moments, and Cam Talbot has been a good signing this year. As much as they're young, good, quick team, I think physicality, defense, and goaltending prevails for the Vegas Golden Knights. Give me the Golden Knights. 7 games. I think it's going to be close. I don't think Vegas, they're going to have to make sure they keep their head down. They can't look ahead. They can't look ahead and say, we might have a matchup with our division rival, the Colorado Avalanche. You can't look that way. If you look anywhere ahead, Wild's going to get you. That's the issue. The Wild, they're a good team. And I could see the Wild winning the series. But I think the slight advantage of goal, defense, and just veteran, more playoff experience, Kirill Kaprizov in his first season being in the playoffs, pressure. Not saying he's not going to do well, but I think veteran, I'm big into playoff experience. If you have experience, you're going to be one of my favorites to do well. And I think the Vegas Golden Knights do that. So I think it's 7 games. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think the Knights get the job done. So the second round set, Maple Leafs, Oilers, Hurricanes, Lightning. That's on the left side of the bracket. Then the right side of the bracket, you got the Islanders, Capitals, and the Avalanche, Golden Knights. So let's start off on the left side, Maple Leafs, Oilers. Now, I mentioned this earlier about the North Division, right? You got Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews battling it out. I just want to say this first. If this series does happen, because as long as Maple Leafs and Oilers get past their first round matchups, get past their first round matchups, this is going to be a series that not just to tune in to see who wins, but to tune in to see Austin Matthews versus Connor McDavid. And, arguably the 2 best players in the NHL. And, right, you got to put Leon Draisaitl in there as well. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has had a good season now. He's not been the best player in the NHL, but he's had a good season. Now, a lot of people are going to probably want to, look at this series and just look at, that the fact that, the Oilers have Connor McDavid and they have guys like that, right? And the Maple Leafs, they've got some good guys on their side, too. I really look at Austin Matthews, and you really got to look at him, and you kind of just sit there and you're in wow of a lot of what he does. A lot of what he does is just, you're kind of in wow, because a lot of what he does is like what Connor McDavid does. It's just stuff that doesn't look human, stuff that you didn't think was possible, and he gets the job done. So before I even say this, I would say that the Maple Leafs definitely and the Oilers, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, is going to be a very fun series. I think it's going to be a very fun series. I think it's going to be super exciting. I think it's going to be, a series that's definitely going to, definitely going to be close. 7 games. I could see that. Now, get into the actual matchup here. William Nylander, Zach Hyman, and obviously, Austin Matthews. Then you get into the Oilers. Tyson Barrie, Ryan Hopkins, Connor McDavid, and, guys like that. Leon Draisaitl. It's like, it's two even teams again. There's a lot of this. And then you obviously got Mike Smith in goal. Now, Frederik Andersen's in the goal for the Maple Leafs. Now, Mike Smith's had a very good year. Frederik Andersen has been a little inconsistent. I might be picking a little bit because he hasn't been dominant, but he hasn't been terrible. He's kind of been, average. So it's like you really don't know how to define inconsistent with him because, his average is, it's average. He's not great. He's not bad. He's average. Mike Smith, I would say, is definitely above average. Now, the Maple Leafs, they've just had a lot of, they've been able to really, the Maple Leafs, I feel like, in terms of talent, the Oilers might have more talent on their roster, but the Maple Leafs, in terms of just coming together as a group, playing hard as a team, they just tend to play even better. They tend to just have much better, play better, look better, right? As much as you can look at this as and say, oh, talent-wise, the Oilers might have more talent. But in terms of, actually, team-wise, the Maple Leafs have done a very good job of coming together, communicating, working hard as a team. There hasn't been one guy that, obviously Austin Matthews really sticks out. But other than that, his supporting cast has done a great job. And that's what I think Maple Leafs separate a little bit more than the Oilers. I think in terms of team play and in terms of communication and just coming together as a team when you need to do it most in the playoffs, I think the Maple Leafs do that. Not saying the Oilers don't, but I just think in terms of just, passing and good decision-making, the Maple Leafs are the slightly smarter team in this case, and for that reason, I got them moving on over the Oilers. So I have the Oilers moving on, or the Maple Leafs moving on, and I have the Maple Leafs going to whatever you want to call it, the semifinal, the division final, and then if they win that, they'll be in the Stanley Cup. So I have the Maple Leafs moving on. 7-game series as well. I think that could very well be. 2 even teams. A lot of good talent on both sides of the puck. All right, so obviously the next up here is the Central. It's the Carolina Hurricanes and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mentioned this earlier about the Lightning. I think the Lightning are a great team on offense. I almost just spoiled my pick. I probably just did by just saying that. But I think the Lightning are a great team on the offense. To be honest, I think the Lightning's offense is arguably what's going to separate them above the rest. Now, I understand the Carolina Hurricanes with Jordan Staal and Sebastian Aho and a lot of breakout players this year. I understand, and their goaltending's been good as well. I get that they've had a very solid year. And the Hurricanes, for a team that has struggled the past couple years, have come out. All that young talent they've been saving has finally bursted out into the scene. They've got some good guys in offense. They've definitely got a good goaltending crew. I think this series goes to 6 games. But at the end of the day, I just think the Lightning's offense is just unmatched by a lot of teams out there. I think the Lightnings get it done. I think Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, Andre Vasilevskiy, I think it's going to be extremely hard to get a puck past Andre Vasilevskiy. I do. But here's my whole thing with the Lightning, though. Like I said, the Lightning, the Lightning are a little bit like the Islanders. They come as a 3 seed. They slid a little bit to end out the year. They were missed without Steven Stamkos. If the Lightning were without Steven Stamkos, I would have had Florida beating them. But with Steven Stamkos, not only is he a threat on the ice, he's a big part of that locker room, big part of that team off the ice. Okay, so as much as you might want to say, oh, why are you so high in the Lightning? Well, look at their offense. Look at how many goal scorers they have on that team. They might not be as physical as some other teams, but there's some times where they don't need to be. And physicality at the end, they might struggle a little bit with physicality. But when it comes down to, scoring goals and, late in games and when you need to get shots up, they do it and they do it very well. And they're very consistent at it. And I'm big into consistency. If you can be consistent, you're going to be in a good position. So I think the Carolina Hurricanes and the Lightning will move on. I think they win it in 6 games. I just think offense prevails there. And I have the Maple Leafs Lightning in the, whatever you want to call it. It's not the conference finals because these aren't conferences. Division finals, whatever. The next round. The semifinal. The round before the Stanley Cup champion. So, You got that set. Now let's go to the other side of the bracket. We got the not Pittsburgh Penguins, the Islanders and the Capitals. So, like I mentioned, the Islanders I said earlier. The Islanders said the Islanders I said earlier about the Islanders, right? With the 1 seed earlier on, a couple months ago, or whenever I was talking about them. And I said the Islanders, like I mentioned just a little bit ago on the podcast, they're a 1 seed that I believe, they got a 4 seed. They're going to the playoffs a little bit of a slow, on a little bit of a losing streak, and they're definitely struggling a little bit. So, I still believe with Barry Trotz, and this is a big year for him, and a big year next year, because a lot of people believe, and Islanders fans in the NHL believe that the Islanders, Barry Trotz came here to bring a cup to Long Island. He did not bring, he did not come to the Islanders and, try to, win, try to, rebuild and stuff like that. He came to the Islanders to win, to try and win it all, to get to the playoffs, to have a competitive hockey team, to have a team that the fans can be proud of. And they have had that so far. They have not reached their ultimate goal yet of winning a Stanley Cup. So this is a big year, and I really believe Barry Trotz is going to try to push his guys. Now, in terms of the Capitals, like I said, they're very physical. Now, the one issue with the Capitals and stuff like that is, like, the Capitals, they've obviously got Alex Ovechkin and guys like that, but, in terms of just overall skill on a roster, like, the Capitals have arguably the best player on ever to play hockey, Alex Ovechkin. But you look at the other guys, you got, like, a bunch of, okay guys, like, Carl Hagelin, he's not great. He's, he could pass, he could hit. He's not great, though. Dylan, not great. He's a good defenseman. He could definitely hit. But, in turn, you look at the Islanders, and I think they have more overall talent on their roster than the Capitals do. And I'm very high on the Islanders. I really believe with Semyon Varlamov, you look at their roster, they got experience last year, they looked good doing it, in the bubble, Semyon Varlamov, like I mentioned, there's so much good talent on this roster. I think the Islanders get the job done here. And I think Jean-Gabriel Pageau and, guys like that, and, Matthew Barzal and Matt Martin, and, you look at Tom Wilson, and that's another thing, too. A lot of what the Capitals do is the physical hockey team. Matt Martin will be able to neutralize that. He's very physical. He gets in the fights. He's not afraid to hit you back. And I feel like the Islanders will be able to neutralize that, and they'll be able to go out there and play their game. I think the Islanders win the series. I think they win it in 6, and I think the Islanders move on to the next round. As much as the Capitals do have talent, their goaltending's been pretty solid this year. Semyon Varlamov is very good, followed by, you got guys, like, Semyon Varlamov is very good, Matthew Barzal, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and then you got a guy like Matt Martin as well, a guy who, Tom Wilson, he's going to be looking to hit. Matt Martin, if he continues to hit him, Matt Martin will come back at you, and I feel like they will be able to neutralize the Capitals' strength, which is physicality. Go out there, play their game. Islanders win in 6. They move on to the next round. Now, as for the Golden Knights Avalanche, I have the Avalanche Golden Knights here. Obviously, Golden Knights I have moving on after that wild round. Now, like I said, I think the Golden Knights coming into this round, they're gonna be coming out of a 7-game series. I do believe that. Now, the Avalanche, obviously, they've been battling it out this entire year. This, I believe, is going to be a 7-game series as well. They've been battling it out the entire year, and the Avalanche obviously won the President's Trophy, best team out there. The Golden Knights obviously are also very, very, very physical. Now, just with the Avalanche reminded me a lot of the Maple Leafs. Now, they might not have, 9, 10 guys in that team that are all great, talented players. Like, like the Oilers have 5, 6 of arguably some of the better players out there in the league. But ultimately, I feel like with the Avalanche, with Nathan McKinnon and with the good goaltending, like, this is going to be a series that's going to be back and forth. But with the Avalanche, like, I feel like, with them, it's just like, they're just, you just look at their roster and you look at what they can do. They just seem to always have a better, I guess you gotta say feel on things, right? Kind of just, a better team overall playing, and they're better overall. Nathan MacKinnon, who's arguably one of the better players out there as well. I don't know if he's. I wouldn't say he's better than McDavid or, I don't know if he's better than McDavid or Austin Matthews, but you could definitely say he's up there with Patrick Kane, Leon Draisaitl, and guys like that. But when Nathan MacKinnon's on, he's on, and the Avalanche were able to get some playoff experience last year, and now they're getting it again this year. And with the Golden Knights, like I mentioned, they've got a lot of guys. Ryan Reeves, Alex Pietrangelo, and Willem Karlsson, and Marc-Andre Fleury, and they've got very good goaltending. I think this series is going to be a very good goaltending series. I really do. I think there's going to be a lot of good goaltending. But at the end of the day, I just think the Avalanche win here. I do. I think the Avalanche win. Now, as much as I want to say the Golden Knights win, just because you look at the roster and they might have more overall talent, I think the Avalanche will win. Now, the Avalanche do have guys like, Ryan Graves and obviously, a good defenseman and Nathan MacKinnon and all that. And then Grabber, however you say his name, in goal. I just think the Avalanche are just a better team. And they proved it in the regular season. They proved it by winning the President's Trophy. They proved it by being the best overall team in the regular season. Give me the Avalanche moving on. 7-game series. They move on. So, I guess you could say your Final Four or whatever is set. It will be the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the New York Islanders and the Colorado Avalanche. Now let's get into this. So Maple Leafs, Lightning. Like I said, Maple Leafs, good team. Zach Hyman, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, very good team. Frederik Andersen, their goalie is shaky. Now the Maple Leafs Got the job done against Montreal. I think the Maple Leafs are actually going to have a little bit of advantage, especially going into that Oilers series, because they're going to get done. I think they're going to get done with the Canadiens pretty quick. I think that could be one of the first series done. And I think the Oilers series will probably go into 7 games, but, they will be well rested. Now, with the Maple Leafs here, the one thing with the Maple Leafs is just, will they be able to contain the Lightning's offense? Will they be able to? And that's where I think the tough question comes in, is will they be able to contain the Tampa Bay Lightning's offense? And if they can, boom, they're going to the Stanley Cup. If they can't, well, you're going to be headed home. And that's where the tough question comes in and you got to be asked. Because we know the Maple Leafs offense is good. We know they can score. We've seen Austin Matthews do the incredible, but the one issue with the Maple Leafs is their goalie is a little weak. Their defense is not the strong point always. That's the one little issue. Now you look at the other end, the Lightning. Their goalie is the strength. Their offense is a strength. And I feel like this is going to be a heavy offensive series. I do, because you got an offensive strength and an offensive strength. Now, the Lightning might be slightly at the advantage because they do have the goalie. But in terms of both these teams' strengths, it's the offense. It's Braden Point. It's Steven Stamkos. It's Kucherov. It's the offense. And then it's Hyman. It's Nylander. It's Austin Matthews. It's both these offenses who are battling it out. So I think overall there's going to be a lot of scoring. Now, Andrei Vasilevskiy, you got to watch out. Because he's very good. Very good. Very, very good goaltender. Andrei Vasilevskiy. Now, the Maple Leafs, like I said, their goalie, Frederik Andersen, is not that he's bad, but he's not what Andrei Vasilevskiy is. And at the end of the day, what I'm going to judge it off of is overall, and I just don't know if I trust Frederik Andersen enough to say that the Maple Leafs will win this series. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning will make the Stanley Cup for the second year in a row and move on to play. I'll tell you who I think is going to get in there next. Either the Islanders or the Colorado Avalanche. So I think the Lightning move on. I think this is going to be a 6-game series. I think the Lightning win it. I think offense, Steven Stamkos, goalie mainly prevails. I think it's going to be a series with a lot of scoring, a lot of offensive highlights. But at the end of the day, I think the Lightning get the job done. 3-seeded Lightning coming out of the Central get into the Stanley Cup. Now, next up, we got the New York Islanders and the Colorado Avalanche. Like I said, I've been talking very highly about the Islanders. I have. I've said I believe this team's very well 1 seed. I believe the Islanders have the talent to get to the playoff, to get to the championship. I really do. The one issue with the Islanders is this time last year, or not this time last year because the playoffs were in the summer, but last year in the playoffs, the one issue with the Islanders is when they got into the later rounds, they started to struggle a little bit. I don't know if it was just wear and tear, if it was just them being tired, the bubble, whatever. Now, that might be a stupid thing to say, but it's the truth. This roster hasn't changed that much this offseason. And I believe that the Islanders are going to be in a lot of series early on. They're going to be in a lot of high-game series. Now, like I said, I think the Avalanche are going to sweep the Blues. They either sweep or either get one. I think the Avalanche are going to have an easier road here outside of the Vegas Golden Knights. But you look at the Islanders last season, the one issue was they started to get, down the stretch, they started to play a little tough. And, obviously got Semyon Varlamov and that goalie and him, he's been dominant this season. I got to get my page back up here. He's obviously been dominant this season. And, there's obviously, a lot of good guys there. But the one issue with, this team and the Islanders is down the stretch, they seem to struggle a little bit. They do. And we saw that last year. Down the stretch when they got into the later rounds, played against the really good teams, they started to struggle. They weren't scoring, they just weren't doing their job. And the Avalanche seem to get better. They've seemed to have gotten better throughout the year. And at the end of the day, I think that prevails. I think Nathan MacKinnon, Devin Towles, Mikko Rantanen, guys like that. Philip Grubauer, that's how you say his name, I think, is Grubauer. When you get into guys like that, you get into that roster, at the end of the day, I think the Avalanche do prevail. I think the Avalanche do win here. I think they win it in 5 games. As much as I think physicality and stuff, and the Islanders might win that, I just think offensively, defensively, Semyon Varlamov is very good, but so is the Avalanche. I think the Avalanche are the better team. Now, I could see the Islanders maybe giving a little bit of problems, but I don't think the Avalanche struggle much in this series. I think they get the job done. I think they win in 5, and they get to the Stanley Cup. Lightning, Avalanche in the Stanley Cup. And my big prediction here about the Stanley Cup, I talked about the Lightning. Now, I could see the Lightning winning this all. I could see it. I could very well see it. Now, it would be back-to-back, which is tough to do. I could also see the Avalanche winning it all. And I've talked a lot about the Lightning offense here. But I do think at the end of the day, I would not be surprised to see the Lightning win it all. I do think at the end of the day, Philip Grubauer, the goalie on the Colorado Avalanche, that defense will be able to contain the Lightning's offense. I think Mikko Rantanen, Devin Towles, Nathan MacKinnon, guys like that will be able to contain this offense of the Lightning. I think the Lightning really hit a little bit, not a brick wall, but I think the Lightning's offense slowed down a little bit. They play the best goalie they will see all playoffs. Philip Grubauer, Nathan MacKinnon at Colorado Avalanche win the Stanley Cup. I think this goes into 7 games. I think it's a very close series, but at the end of the day, younger team, I think overall the better team and the best team in the NHL, the Colorado Avalanche will win it all. That is my Stanley Cup prediction. Now, I could very well see the Lightning win it all. I could see the Oilers making a run. I could see a lot of teams. But at the end of the day, look at the numbers, my own personal opinions, I see the Colorado Avalanche getting to the Stanley Cup and their goalie, the big pickup in free agency, get the job done. Avalanche, I think, win it all. Would I be surprised to see the Lightning win it all? No. But I think the Avalanche get the job done. That's how I see it. Now, I know it's rare to see a number 1 seed win it sometimes because they're the favorites and everyone's talking about them and they tend to, struggle a little bit. But this Avalanche team at the beginning of the year did not look good. And they've looked better every, it's almost like something clicked. I don't know if the coach had a meeting or whatever. Something clicked. Same thing with MacKinnon. He struggled to start the year and something clicked with him too. So, I think the Avalanche get the job done. I think they win it. That's what I got on the NHL playoff bracket. Now, that took a long time. In the beginning, I said I would not want, this took a very long time. This playoff bracket. So I'm going to get into, obviously, the Rangers stuff here. It's going to be quick. I might talk more about it on Monday and stuff like that. But anyway, so this is what I've got here. All right, let's get into this. Let's get over here. All right, so coming up next, I want to get into the Rangers coaching candidates. I want to get into some of the coaching candidates that the Rangers could be looking at. Some guys, some of the coaches out there that the Rangers could be looking at as their next coach for the New York Rangers. Coming up next. Alrighty. So let's get into this here. I know a lot of people probably will disagree with me on my take on the Lightning. I have a feeling a lot of people will disagree with me on that. The take on the Lightning. Let's see, where are the Lightning in this new? Okay, the Lightning, they ranked the Lightning as number 7. Victor Hedman, Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, all were practicing. So, definitely, they started out, they ended the season slow. But a lot of people might think it's outrageous to put the Lightning in there. A lot of people think the Maple Leafs are going to win it all. I just think the Lightning's offense is that good. Now, I have the Avalanche winning all, but a lot of people are going to be surprised that I'm going to put the Lightning in there. You know, you watch this team play and you see that what they do, they're just very good. They're very good. Ain't much else I got to say. Anyway, so let's get into this. So the New York Rangers, I did this with the New York Jets, and I'm going to be quick with this because we've already got, an hour, almost an hour 10 here. And I'm not going to do this in any particular order, but the Rangers yesterday, obviously, and Chris Drury said this a couple days ago, on Wednesday, that they're going to start the process early. And they're going to start the process immediately, right when they fire David Quinn. He said, we're going to start the process of going out and figuring out who's going to be our next coach of the New York Rangers. So, obviously, the hope is that we get the right guy. He comes in here, gets the job done, does what we all want him to do, and that is to, try to bring a Stanley Cup back to New York, and just try to get the Rangers to be back on a competitive level. They were this year, but obviously just kind of this season, it's just. This season, it wasn't bad for the New York Rangers. It was just, the way it ended. And obviously, I think it was a smart decision, like I mentioned, to get rid of Quinn. But here are a couple of candidates. Now, a lot of Rangers fans are split on the candidates. So, one of the candidates is Gerard Gallant. And he is one of the candidates to, he's going to be, he's a candidate, but the Rangers have already requested interviews on him. So, if you don't know how that works, what happens is a coach who is obviously right now he's the head coach. He's with Vegas right now. So Gerard Gallant is obviously the favorite right now to become the Rangers coach. He is the favorite. Now, does that mean he's going to get it? No, but he is the favorite. A lot of times, they do get the job. Now, here's my whole thing with the Rangers here, and here's a couple options that we could be looking at. I know a lot of Rangers fans are split. Now, I would perfectly be okay with Gallant coming over here as a Rangers. He's obviously had success with, being in a Knights organization and stuff like that. He's obviously had he's had a lot of success. And he's also been a head coach for, multiple teams here. He served the head coach for the Blue Jackets, Florida Panthers, and obviously, obviously now the Golden Knights. So, obviously he's a guy who is very, very, very good. And he's obviously led the Golden Knights to be a lot of success. He's led the Golden Knights to have a lot of, success, especially, as them, him taking over as an expansion. And he realizes what it is to, inherit a roster that, you might not know much about. He took that with the Knights. He took a Knights team who was an expansion team, got them to the finals, and he's still having much success with the Golden Knights now. So, one thing I wanted to say was, I would like this hire a lot. I would like it. I think you're bringing in a guy that's got playoff, he's got playoffs on his resume. He knows what it's like to win big games. He knows what it's like to be competitive and, go out there and, ultimately try your best to win. Also, a guy that's going to be competitive. He's going to push for the best out of his players. Now, another option that could pop up is Mark Messier. He's obviously arguably the best Rangers of all time as a player. He's obviously the captain. We all know Mark Messier is. He's an option. Now, he's been in a Stanley Cup. He won it all. He knows what winning's like. I think the Rangers are going to target a coach that knows what winning is. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I truly do. I think they're going to hire a coach that has been in a winning organization and has winning experience. Because it's a young team. You're going to try to do your best to develop these young guys. Try and get these young guys to really, really, really win and do well. Right? And that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. With the Rangers here, is they're going to try to get in a coach that truly wants to win. It's not all about, it's about trying to win right now and getting the job done. Getting a coach that's going to be able to get winning hockey back to the Rangers. And you could do that in Gallant. You could do that in Mark Messier. Guys that have experienced winning and know what to do with a win. Gallant knows. He was with the Golden Knights. He knows what it's like. Now, another thing, too, here. Another option is John Tortorella. He obviously coached the Rangers. He had some success. He got them there. Tortorella, I think, would be a good hire, although I think it is unlikely. But I think that would also be an option. A guy who he pushes the players a lot. And the Rangers have not been physical. He's a coach that really teaches physicality. He's also already been with the New York media. He already knows what it's like. So it wouldn't be much of a change. And the Coyotes coach as well. Right now, it looks like Gerard Gallant might be the coach. Now, they still got to go through the whole process and stuff. But it is very possibility. Now, I think that would be a great hire. I mean, he was with the Golden Knights, and this team this year is in the playoffs, and a team that has gone to the Stanley Cup, and he took an expansion team, and they've been very good with him. So, Coach Ori's done a lot of winning in his career and a lot of winning recently. So I could see that. So, those are a couple names to think about as a New York Rangers fan. All right, so let's get into the New York sports update to finish off the podcast. Like I said, I wanted to be quick with that. Just given the fact that long video already. Alrighty, so as for the NBA, yesterday the Suns won, Grizzlies won, Nuggets won, Bulls won, Heat won, Knicks won, Hawks won, Bucks won, and Clippers won. As for today, we got the Wizards, Cavs, I'll give Wizards the win. Jazz, Thunder, I'll give Jazz the win. 76ers, Magic, I'll give 76ers the win. Nuggets, Pistons, give Nuggets the win. Clippers, Rockets, give Clippers the win. Grizzlies, Kings, give Grizzlies the win. Mavericks, Raptors, give Mavericks the win. And Warriors, Pelicans, I'll give Warriors the win. As for the NHL, yesterday, the Avalanche won, Flames won, and Blues won. And today, we got the Jets, Maple Leafs, Jets, I'll give Maple Leafs the win. Alrighty, as for yesterday in the MLB, the Indians won, Marlins won, Rockies won, Astros won, Red Sox won, Giants won, White Sox won, Cardinals won, Tigers won, Nationals won, and Blue Jays won. And the Yankees lost yesterday 9-1. We moved to 20-17 on the season. Like I said, one of these games, if you're the Yankees, you just want to crumble up and throw out. Don't even look at film. Don't even look at anything. This is a game that you crumble up, throw out the window, and forget about it. Alrighty, so these are the games on today. White Sox Royals, I'll give White Sox to win. Giants Pirates, I'll give Giants to win. Giants have been cruising. Really playing well. They're one of the teams that have been surprisingly very good this season. Red Sox Angels, I'll give Red Sox to win. Cubs Tigers, give Cubs to win. Rays Mets, give Rays to win. Actually, I got to give you my pick there. Rays to win. Peterson's on the mound for the Mets. Glasnow's on the mound for the Rays. Mets hitting's been better recently, but Glasnow has had a very good year. It's kind of funny, the Yankees and the Mets have traded places. So, actually, exactly. Because the Mets played the Orioles, not away, but home. And now they go to the Rays. The Yankees played the Rays, and now they play the Orioles. Interesting schedule thing there. Blue Jays, Phillies, I'll give Blue Jays the win. Twins, A's, I'll give A's the win. Brewers, Braves, give Brewers the win. Astros, Rangers, give Astros the win. White Sox, Royals, give White Sox the win. Rockies, Reds, give Reds the win. Nationals, Diamondbacks, give Nationals the win. Padres, Cardinals, give Padres the win. Mariners, Indians, give Mariners the win. And Dodgers, Marlins, I'll give Dodgers the win. So that's what I got there. Oh, by the way, the Nets game before I do the Yankees game here. I think the Nets very well could win at least one in those 2 games. I think they'll get two wins if they play all their guys. They might. I don't know how they'll play it out. It looks like the big 3 will be playing though. All right. As for the Yankees come in this game 20-17. Orioles come in this game 16-21. Corey Kluber's on the mound for the Yankees. Kramer's on the mound for the Orioles. This game comes on today, 7 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MLB Network. You could also find this on Yes Network. I'll give the Yankees a win. Bounce back. Kluber's been pitching better. I'll give the Yankees a win. All right, as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently losing 194-139. Today I've got going Yerman Mercedes, Matt Olson, Gene Segura, Josh Johnson, Carlos Correa, Marcus Semien, Alex Bregman, Whit Merrifield, Austin Meadows, Jorge Soler, Dylan Carlson, and Manuel Margot. I've also picked up Avisal Garcia. I made a roster move today. I dropped Victor Robles and picked up Avisal Garcia. So he's on my roster now. And I got Tyler Glasnow, Joe Musgrove, and Frankie Montas on the mound. As for Christian Yelich back will be getting rehab assignment with AAA Nashville on Friday. Will Sam at the Athletic Report. So that was a report on him. As for fantasy basketball, I'm currently losing 2,177 to 2,106. Today I've got going Kyle Lowry, Buddy Hield, Jeremy Grant, Jonas Valanciunas, Pascal Siakam, Bradley Beal, and Fred VanVleet. I might have no one going today except Buddy Hield. Let's see. Kyle Lowry's out. Lowry West will not play Friday against the Mavericks. All right, he's not going to probably play the rest of the season. He's probably not going to play. Jeremy Grant's also out. Knee is out. He probably also won't play that much. Valanciunas back, will not play. Siakam, he's going to be out. It's shoulder will not play Friday against the Beal will not play Friday. Okay, he's not going to play. And VanVleet, he also will not play. I mean, no one's going to play. I think I'm thinking about just dropping. Honestly, I'm thinking about dropping. I mean, that might be a dumb move. I'm thinking about dropping Lowry. I mean, he's not doing anything. He's been really struggling. And not that he's been struggling. He's just out. He's out for the rest of the season. I don't think he plays the rest of the season. I don't. He hasn't played. I don't think he plays the rest of the season. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drop him and bring in someone else that's healthy. All right. How many? Let me check this. Because fantasy hockey's done, so I have any fantasy hockey lineups to do. How many games do they have remaining? Because it's a 60, whatever. 72. So 27 through 43. So what's that? 60, 70? That's 7. They have 2 games left. So he's not playing. They have a game tonight that he's not going to play in. And then they have a game, it's not even worth it. Because he's going to, play one more game? So I'm going to drop him. So I'm going to drop point guards. Let's see here. Devontae Graham. I'm going to pick up Delon Wright because he is playing tonight. I'm going to drop Kyle Lowry and boom, bring him in. So I'm going to drop Kyle Lowry. He plays, and you might think I'm crazy for that. He plays one more game. I don't know if he's going to play at all. And same thing with Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet. Who knows if they even play their final game of the season. They have one more game left. I don't think they play those games. So that's how I see it. But we'll see how it all plays out. Anyway, with all that being said, that will do it. Oh, by the way, fantasy hockey. I lost in fantasy hockey. I lost. The season is done. So I lost in fantasy hockey 376 to 324. So it's tough, obviously. But, I got to the championship. Wasn't able to get the job done. I got second place finish. It's definitely, tough. You get all that way and you can't win. But at the end of the day, the fact was, it was my first season doing fantasy hockey. Next year it would be the full 82 games, which should be good. But just, was not able to get the job done. That's really how I look at it. But anyway, with all that being said, that'll do it for the podcast here today. A very long podcast to finish out the week. As you all know, I take breaks on the weekend, so everybody enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all the good sports that are on. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.